Sure.
The ANC has not studied ZANU-PF
Yeah.
to understand what did they do when you reconciled with the whites? What happened?
Sure.
We haven't studied how the Dutch made it, how the Dutch and the Jews became related. So this innovation, this ability to control commerce, that the Jews were able to say, these Dutch are clever.
Yeah.
But you also have to understand a lot of the Dutch in there are also have got Jewish blood.
Okay.
Are also Jews who migrated from Germany, France, and influenced the creative spirit within the Netherlands. But when we now look at how they then meet here in South Africa, the VOC. The VOC comes from the Netherlands, or the Dutch East India Company comes from the Netherlands, starts circumventing Africa, coming to the bottom of Africa, and then they settle here at the filling point that's here in South Africa. When they settle here, there's the Khoi that are here, the Dutch, the Portuguese have already been here. So they create a city that was mainly based on trading water, wood, and food. And when they created this thing was controlled by a guy called Autshumao, who was a Khoi.
Autshumao.
Yeah.
Okay.
He actually had a daughter, a son who had to be trained in Java by the Dutch, who took them there, showed them how it is that trade is done with the Europeans so that they can better the port of Cape Town. Then he came back and started running that port.
Do you know if the term company comes from the Dutch? You spoke about accounting.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But
I might have heard something like that. Like even the conceptualization of what a company is today
yes,
may come from those Dutch East India company things. But anyways.
You will see that even till today, most of your corporations in South Africa, so SAB, which was also basically controlled by the Oppenheimers and
Anglo-American, you're right.
But all of its intellectual property was not held in South Africa. It was held in the Netherlands and in Belgium. So Casolaga, Lion, what's the other one? Black Label.
Black Label. Belgium. Sorry, Mark Rich, I think is from Belgium, but he's Jewish. Belgian Jewish person. Mark Rich from the guy who gave birth to Glencoe.
Yes, Glencoe.
Sorry.
So you'll be surprised that all of SAB's products were registered and trademarked, and their intellectual property held in Belgium and the Netherlands.
That means the money flows there because you have to pay the IP owners.
Exactly. So you call it a South African company. It's not. And that's why right now it's been sold. It's now part and parcel of AB InBev. AB InBev was what? Belgian? If you go and look at the capital behind AB InBev, you're still going to see it tying back to that combine I told you about. You're going to see that the investors in there are BlackRock. You're going to see Fidelity, Vanguard, or State Street.
You know, speaking about IP, I don't know if it's Andrew Tate who was mentioning something about this setup, that it still happens today. Because I mean, Nike sweatshops in China, and you're like, the Chinese are making everything, and they might, from China, not go back to America. They distribute to wherever the Nikes need to be sold. But the bulk of the money needs to go to America because that's where the IP is held.
That's why the IP is held. Because a pair of Nikes can be manufactured for $99. But the same pair of Nikes is going to sell for $120, sometimes $200. $9 is what it costs to produce it. To transport it to the United States is another probably $1 each. So where does the rest of this value go to? It's because of the intellectual property. The intellectual property, the marketing costs, the brand. That's where the value is.
Sure.
And all those do not reside in China or the places where the production is taking place. SAB's value was being extracted in South Africa. It made alcoholics of Africans.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the profits are in the Netherlands. And when it suited Anglo-America, they simply sold it off to a European company that has no association with South Africa. So South Africa can't even take claim of SAB, yet SAB was created by the blood, sweat, and enslavement of South Africans.
Can we shut it down here? Sorry, if you can please wrap it up here, because I think we can keep going and I'm scared.
Agreed.
Please, no, please carry on with the SAP, Autshumao. I don't know if you want to finish off that.
Right. So
But then you want to owe me again.
very good. So with people like
Owe me, Baba. I'm a Rothschild. I'm here to collect my debt.
with people like Autshumao, and before Autshumao there was another gentleman, I've just forgotten his name. They began to run the port.
Yeah.
And in fact, Autshumao at some point became the governor of the Cape. He was the what they call the port master of the Cape port. So the Cape port was not established by white people per se. It was established by the Khoi. It was established by Africans.
Yeah.
But over time, the Dutch came in. They realized this guy's making money.
Yeah.
He sells livestock. He sells water. Water was very important.
Because you can't drink seawater.
Yes, you can't drink seawater.
Yeah.
And the food that they were growing. And these were being grown by the peripheral Khoi and the San communities and the Xhosa communities were the ones that were growing this food that would be brought to port. So the very first thing that Jan van Riebeeck does is once they've created a relationship, within 10 years, they then start chasing away the Khoi from the mouth of the river so that they can start controlling the river and fresh water. They then build a fort around it. And then they needed cows from the natives, from the Khoi, from the San, and from the Xhosa community. They started sending their people out to raid. They tried to buy. Autshumao had already had relationships with all the natives in the area, so he started refusing them to sell the cows to the Dutch. He would do the selling. And when he sold the cows to the Dutch, he would sell and say 5 or 3, 5 sheep, 1 cow, and so forth. So the Dutch never had enough to put on their ships. They would have to then rely, and the English would have to rely on Autshumao. And Autshumao himself had a relationship with the English. The Dutch started seeing this as a problem. The first guy that was there, I'm just forgetting his name, they killed him. The Dutch. Autshumao, they were trying to kill him. Eventually they arrested him and put him onto Robben Island because he killed one of the shepherds of the Dutch and took back the cows that they had stolen. So this is where you start seeing a coalescing of the Dutch, the Dutch coming in and beginning to control South Africa. And as they begin to control South Africa, as it becomes more important as a filling point, the Jews are also coming in with an interest. But I also want us to stop the danger of separating the Jews and the Dutch, because a lot of Dutch were Jewish,
people as well.
just like a lot of Germans were Jewish people, a lot of Russians are Jewish people, a lot of Americans are Jewish people, a lot of Britons are Jewish people. But the point is, we're dealing with people that are very powerful.
We still have a lot to unpack.